How was your university life like?
So I think the first year, the transition from high school to university, it was really difficult for me
Sure.
because I got an F7.
Oh,
I got an F7. So
really?
yes, first year I
Okay.
got an F7. I had to go and appeal. It's not because I wasn't doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was just wasn't exposed to a lot of things. You know,
Mm.
UJ, they assist with students who are coming from Emma Lokshin because you know a Lokshin, you don't have that kind of support. You don't have computer, you don't do computer studies
Yes.
in my location. So when you get to university, you had to learn like everything from scratch, how to type, all these things.
Sure.
I didn't have previous experience with that. I remember this other time I had a politics assignment.
Sure.
So I needed to type. I went to the D labs there at UJ, and then there was a white guy who was sitting next to me. Like I didn't know how to type.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
and then I went to the guy and then I asked him, I was like, can you please assist me? I've got an assignment that is due, but I don't know how to use a computer because where I'm coming from, we didn't have that at school.
Sure.
And, you know, he was so kind enough. He showed me, he even wrote like some notes for me on the side. This is your spacing, you know, this is everything. Like I was so happy. But then I only realized later that actually UJ, they do offer those things. They do offer
Yes.
computer classes. But because I didn't know anyone, I was alone. I didn't know anyone. I was not exposed to that. So I think that's why I failed. So I had to go and appeal. And then I went back second semester. So I did the modules that I passed. Yeah. And then I had to come back in 2010 to repeat
Okay.
because some of the modules were like year modules. So I had to come back and repeat those modules. So it took me a bit longer to actually finish my degree because I lost funding. And then when I came back, my uncle was actually like paying cash for me.
Sure.
And also because I had my younger brother who was like starting university. And then I had my other cousins who were also starting university. And then they were like, yeah, but we've given you a chance and
Sure.
you fumbled. And remember, also parents, they don't understand that you don't fail because you were not trying. You know, it was just difficult for me to transition from being in high school to be in varsity. So
Sure.
it took longer for me to actually like blend in and actually understand university life and actually understand that in university, no one is going to be running after you, telling you that you've got an assignment due. No one is going to be running after and telling you that you need to study, you know. And also the way they ask questions in examinations, it's far more different from the way they ask questions in examinations in high school. Because in high school, you basically get spoon-fed. You know, they tell you this is what's going to be in the exam. University, they will tell you just study chapter 1 until chapter 3.
Sure.
So you can't really spot questions there. You really need to study. And I also think that I struggled in terms of studying because I didn't know which technique actually worked for me. And you know, with modules like your politics, it's too much theory. It's unlike your economics, because economics, you've got graphs, you've got calculations, and calculations are practical. You know, you just need to practice and then you get it right. Whereas with theory, I struggled a lot because, you know, you just read this whole bunch of information, but you don't really comprehend what you are reading. And also in terms of politics, they've got a different language that they are using. You know, it's
Sure.
not the English that you were using in high school. You come to law, because I also had like some law modules. Law, they had different English that they are using. It's not the English that you are used to, the English that you were writing in high school, you know, so it kind of took me time to like integrate myself into that.
You know, your story is a story of resilience, because I can imagine from a person that went through F7, right? You go through F7, you face these issues that you face, you struggle to transition and etc. But then after you struggle to transition, you go after all these qualifications. After getting F7, honey, I was not going to fetch an LLB. After all, an LLM, I was going to be like, you know what? You traumatized me. I've gotten the degree. Let me go get a job. But you actually said, you know what? This can't be a defining point. It can be a pivoting point or a turning point of my life, but I can't let it define me and I can't let it stop me. And I'm so proud that you actually did not give in to the struggle. What are some of the things you wish you were supported with in that moment when you were going through a university transition? What is it that you wish maybe you knew better or that could have been done better to support your journey?
I just wish that the people, let me just say my family, mostly because I didn't have even have friends then, like they were more understanding.
Sure.
Like they were more understanding, But when you get pressure, like they just expect you to be good because you were good in high school, And when you say you are struggling, they don't believe that you are struggling.
Sure.
For them, it's like you are playing, you are not really struggling, And, like with other families, I met this other girl. We met in French class.
You did French?
Yes, I did French.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Can you speak French?
Just a little bit.
Give us
Je
a
ne
line.
parle pas le français.
Oh, well. Okay, all right.
It was just like basic French. So I met this girl in French class. Her name was Samira. She was Indian. So with her, she even had like, she was attending therapy.
Okay.
And I had no idea that actually UJ offered that. She was attending therapy. Her family, the way they were so supportive, like they tried by all means to find the support for her, just for her to pass university. They were paying tutorials, extra tutorials, not even the UJ tutorials. She was attending some classes in Braamfontein where her parents were actually paying for her.
Sure.
Just to Kuti Abe right. So I wish I had, we didn't have the money at home, but I just wish that I had that kind of support, to say that what else can we do for you, to make sure that you blend well in varsity, you do well in your studies. But instead, you get pressure. They expect you to pass.
Yeah.
They
They're
expect
asking
you
you
to
why are
pass.
you not getting 95 as per high school? Why are you getting a 40?
That's
Sure.
the unfortunate part, because you are under pressure. When you get home, they want to see results. You can't go there and say, I'm struggling
You're
because of what?
busy with boys
You are
there.
busy
You
with
guys
boys
are
and
drinking
alcohol.
there.
You are busy with boys and alcohol there. Plus, like you're growing up with bit rebellious with my sisters, But sometimes it wasn't that. It wasn't even that. But because of then they'll just assume, no, it's because we busy school instead of studying. And it wasn't even that.
Yeah. I really love that. And I just like to say, it's sad that in the current South Africa that we're still in, there are still schools that don't have computer lessons. There's still schools that don't have communication skills lessons. And I'd say if high schools can, or maybe university or the government, collaborate in create more programs whereby if you're still at high school, there are computer lessons, even if they're not at your high school, but maybe a community center where you're being taught how to use a computer, or community centers where you can be taught how to communicate, how to do certain things. Because guys, unfortunately, in university, it's not your intelligence that keeps you. Even your soft skills matter. How well you're able to communicate with other people, how well you're able to blend with other people, how fast you type. Because you can get an assignment. Like I had this, I don't know if it was just me. I used to write down first. Like on a notebook, I'd spend hours on hours writing it down first, then retype. But you had people that were so tech savvy that started off typing from the laptop. They didn't have to translate. So I'd say it's important that you get those skills. You know how to use Word, know how to use Excel. It really does help you. So now you're done with your BA, International Relations, right? Then how do you end up in LLB?
So here's what happened. So after I graduated, actually, before we get there, I took a gap year. I was forced.
After your BA?
Just before.
Okay.
Just before, because remember I didn't, just after when I was repeating the modules.
Okay.
Right? Remember I had funding, then I lost funding, and then my uncle had to pay cash. But then he didn't have the money to now pay for my studies because my younger brother was starting university, and then my other cousin was also starting university. So they're like, okay, when you had a chance and then you fumbled, let's give the others a chance. There was a lot of us. Me and my siblings, we grew up without parents. We were orphans. So my uncles, Nabuma Mkulu, they were like taking care of us.
Sure.
So it was 9 of us, and then it was only 3 people who were working, taking care of 9 kids. You know? So it was a lot. But what I appreciate is that everyone at home, literally everyone, got a chance to be in university. those who dropped out is because they wanted to.
Sure.
But they made sure that everyone gets an equal chance to be in varsity. So I had to take a gap year, had to find work. I got a learnership at Katlehong High School.
Okay.
So I was doing career development,
Oh,
counseling.
love that. Okay, full circle moment.
Yeah. And then I managed to pay like the fees that I was owing. I think I was left with 2 point something, and then registration at the time at UJ was 3.5. So I went to Mamkul Crazy. I was like, okay, I've already paid. I want to go back to varsity because remember when I took the gap year, they just had the assumption that I don't want to study. You know, I don't want to study. I'll never go back to varsity. There were also people that had already written me off.
Sure.
That puts, oh, lo nuhambile waye Jozi shame Jozi limhlulile
Yes,
degree ayikho.
Sure.
Degree ayikho. And then I went to Mamkul Grace. I was like, I've already paid this amount. I owe 2.5 and I'm also going to need a money for registration. She literally went and she took out a loan.
Oh my goodness.
She took out a
God
loan.
bless her.
She took out a loan, paid my fees, and then she gave me that 3.5 for registration. Went back at UJ, and then I applied for NAFSAs. Luckily, I got approved, and then they paid for accommodation and everything. From that moment, I didn't look back.
You were just like, we're
didn't
going
look
big.
back. I passed, I graduated, and then I did my internship. It was an internship, but even though they were calling it a cadet program at the Department of Home Affairs, which was for 18 months. And then on the 12th month, then they moved me to counter-corruption at the department. So when I got to counter-corruption, like literally everyone was educated. My director at the time, she was an advocate, but she wasn't practicing. She had an MBA. She was doing her LLM in human rights. And then the other deputy director, he had like 3 degrees. He was studying LLB at the time, but he had a forensic degree and then an honors. Like everyone was just educated in that department. And then I was like, no, I can't just be here and have 1 degree.
Yeah.
Everyone is like 2, 3, you know? And what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to do an honors in political science.
Sure.
And then Auskoni came to me and then she was like, Nombuso, how many people have honors in political science? You will do it and then what?
Sure.
You know, you will do it and then what? When I look at you, I see myself, you know. So there's no way you are going to do an honors in political science.
Sure.
Find something else. And then I thought, what else can I do? You know? And then I decided, oh no, man, let me just apply for LLB. I applied for LLB.
Sure.
And then when I applied for LLB at that time, my contract was about to end at Home Affairs. It was about to end. I applied and then I got accepted. And then when I got accepted, I was already not working. I didn't have any financial plans.
Okay.
I didn't know how I was going to pay for registration, but all I knew was that I wanted to study LLB.
Sure.
And then they called us back in November as immigration officials because now they wanted to like absorb us in the department. But you know how government works. Then we got deployed. We were working that whole of December, January, and then we attended interviews for retainment. And then you remember that time when they changed Malusiki Kaba from Minister of Home Affairs to Finance because our program was his baby, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So he went, and then a new minister came in, they froze posts.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
we had to be let go.
Sure.
So I was sitting at home, don't have any financial plan, and then it was time to register. I didn't have the money. I was like, okay, the money that I have in my savings is not enough. I will only just be able to register, but what am I going to be surviving on?
Sure.
You know what? I was like, no, it's the sacrifice that I'm willing to make. And then I used that money to pay for my registrations. And then I applied for bursaries like crazy. I remember I saw a post. I had Facebook at the time. I saw a post on Facebook that the Public Investment and Corporation was advertising bursaries.
Yes.
I just applied. I didn't even know that I was going to get it. I just applied, so stressed. You know? And then in March, towards the end of March, I got an email from PIC to say that they've approved my bursary application.
Love that.
They are paying for everything. Accommodation, books, and tuition. Like, you know what? I couldn't process that email. I cried. I cried because I was like, you know, sometimes we doubt God.
Sure.
You know, when I decided that I wanted to study LLB, I had no financial plan. You know, I didn't know how I was going to pay for my fees.
Sure.
But then God was like, you know what? I put that dream in your head for a reason. You know, you must just trust me enough and take that leap of faith.
Sure.
Of which I did. From then, I've been testing God so much. I've been testing him, and he always comes through for me.
I love
Always
that.
comes through for me.
I love that. It takes me to, there's this saying that says, God doesn't send you without provision. So when he sends you, he provides. Yours is to be faithful enough to say, I'm scared, I'm afraid, I can't do this, but I will show up because I trust in the greater one who lives inside of me. And I'm glad you did that. But now, why apply UNISA? Because, I mean, you're a UJ alumni, and UJ is a great place.
Because at the time I was already working.
Okay.
And when I was at the department, we used to travel a lot. So in Nabayuk attend my classes, I wasn't going to be able to attend classes.
Okay.
Because like we used to travel. So I was like, okay, UNISA is the only convenient university for me, of which I can do my LLB not part-time, do it full-time without attending classes. Whereas if I went back to UJ or if I applied at your UP, I would like have to attend classes or do it for a further 5 years or 6 years because it's part-time. So I wanted to like finish in record time.
Okay.
So that's why I decided to opt for UNISA.
Okay, but I hear there are some challenges with studying at UNISA. Are there any challenges you faced, and what are some of the things that you can recommend to a person who's intending to study at UNISA, like how to prepare themselves to study at UNISA? Because apparently the support is not the same as like going to UJ and being on physical classes frequently and etc.
So I always hear people saying that studying at UNISA is easy. Studying at UNISA is hard.
Yeah.
Guys. It's hard because you don't have classes. You don't have tutorials. Everything you have to figure it out yourself. Even when they say there's a lecturer that you can contact, if you need help, you will contact them. You will wait. You will wait and wait and wait, waiting for them to assist you. I just think that the administrative part of it, they are lacking. And it's not like it's something that they don't know. They are aware, fully aware. I had an encounter with my LLM supervisor, where I submitted my proposal, and she never acknowledged receipt of the proposal, and time is moving, you know, and I had to report her. Imagine now having to report your own supervisor.
Yes, and the
Because she's
relationship
not
starts
doing-
off rocky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because she's not doing what she's hired to do. So I think that's just the downside with UNISA, the lack of support, the lack of support and the administrative part of it. But otherwise,
It's great.
it's great.
Okay.
And it's not easy. You just need to study. Like you need to be disciplined. Because it's unlike other universities where you've got classes, you've got tutorials. You don't have that kind of support there.
How can a person prepare themselves if they're going to study at UNISA?
I mean, what I would say is for a person to excel actually at UNISA, it's much more better if you started from a different university. I
Okay.
think what made it easier for me was that I had studied at UJ, you know, so a lot of things I understood. So when I got there, I knew what was expected of me. But if it's someone who is fresh from high school, it becomes difficult, you know, because no one is going to be sitting in front of you in class teaching you how to do certain things. You need to read. Sometimes when you read, you don't understand the way that you should, or the way that you would understand when someone was explaining this thing to you, someone who has experience, you know, the way they're explaining this thing to you. So it becomes difficult. It's a challenge, because there was this other girl that I was also assisting who was studying, I think she dropped out. She was studying a diploma in law. Like she was really struggling, you know, even like with law is different, you know, the way we reference, you know, the way we approach questions, like it's different. So when I try to explain that to someone who is fresh from high school, and also I'll just like try to explain on a high level, you know, because I'm not a teacher at heart, so I can't teach. So remember, imagine if that person was studying maybe AUJ, attending classes, they would have probably excelled, because it's easier to understand when someone is there teaching you, asking questions, and then they're able to answer the questions rather than you having to read those things yourself. It becomes a challenge. So I would say that, you know what, coming straight from high school to UNISA, Well, depending on the qualifications, some qualifications, they are not as demanding. But if you're going to be studying qualifications like your law, like your accounting, at least have tutorials on the side. Have tutorials on the side that you are willing to pay, to teach you. Because if you are saying that you're going to study on your own, you are going to struggle.
Okay, love that. So have tutorials on the side, or maybe make friends with people that have been studying at UNISA that have gone your path. Then you can always ask them and maybe pay them. Becomes really much more affordable, right? And then now, you graduate with your LLB. What was the plan? What did you plan to do with that LLB? Did you know your options?
So when I started with my LLB, the aim was to focus on human rights because having worked at Home Affairs, you see how people are being treated there. Like it's terrible, it's painful, it's traumatic.
Sure.
Because I worked at civic services. Civic services is where you apply for your IDs, your birth certificates, So what these officials used to do there, they were selling ID numbers.
Hey, bo. So the whole Chidima thing, the drama that has been
They
going
were
on.
selling ID numbers. So what they would do is, someone who's 16, 17, 18, they don't apply for IDs up until it's time for them to go to university. Others will wait until 19 to then go and apply for an ID. So what they would do, those officials, they would go in the system, check, okay, it's an ID number, it doesn't have fingerprints, print out the birth certificate, sell them for like 50, 30K. Sell to foreign national. Foreign national comes back with a reprinted birth certificate. They come apply for an ID, they get their fingerprints. Once they get the ID, then they go and change the name. Maybe a year later, they go and change the other name because the department does allow that. And then you will find a Yvonne Shabang who's Nigerian. And then you ask yourself,
what's going on?
Shabang, but you are Nigerian.
Yes.
How? So it became painful because we had this drive at Home Affairs where we would go like to high schools and then we'd want kids from grade 10 until grade 12 to come and apply for IDs. So what they would do is they would bring their parents' original ID copies and then they come with their birth certificate. Remember now you want to apply university, especially the matrix, because we had one case where this child wanted to apply university. She had applied and then she had gotten a bursary, but for them to approve it, they needed an ID because she had used a birth certificate. She came to the office, so I was trying to assist. And then when we go on the system, someone else has fingerprints, someone else has an ID. Now it means her life is affected. She's not going to be able to get that bursary because someone else is using her ID, and they had to block that ID. What happens to her then? Because it doesn't mean they're with manje. Now she has to apply for another ID. No, you have to wait for that issue to be resolved. So it means your life at that time is at a standstill. Is at a standstill. You're affected. It's not your fault. You didn't know anything, because officials decided that they want to be corrupt. And then we had another issue where at Maravastad, where we have like your refugees, so what they would do is like people who genuinely need Isalam, they were not getting it. They were not getting the help. They will go and sleep there at Maravastad. And the working conditions are not conducive at all. So when I did my LLB, I was like, you know what, my focus will be on human rights because I don't like what is happening, And then I left the department and then I joined FNB. When I joined FNB, I was...
How did you join FNB?
So
give us the tea. How did you apply? I've been waiting for this moment.
After I had left the department, I think I wasn't working for like 8 months.
Okay.
But at least because I had a bursary and then I had my studies to keep me busy, then I got to FNB through a graduate program.
Okay.
Yes, it was through a graduate program in 2018.
Were you done with your LLB? Or
No,
during
it was
your LLB?
my first year of my LLB.
Okay, God's favorite kid. Okay.
It was my first year of my LLB. And then I joined FNB. I remember this other time I was sitting in the kitchen having coffee. I was still new. And then this other girl came to me and then she asked me, what are you studying? I heard that you're studying. What are you studying? Then I'm telling her I'm studying LLB, And then she was like, oh, okay, I guess you want to be a lawyer. And I was like, yes, I want to be a lawyer. And then she was like to me, but don't you think I'm a bit too old to be starting your LLB at this age?
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then she was like, yeah, by the time you finish, you're probably going to be 30-something. Who's going to want to hire you? And then this other one was like, plus I've seen a lot of broke lawyers. Me, I wouldn't
Okay.
study LLB because when we joined FNB, because we joined like with different degrees. So we were given an option to study like a business qualification.
Okay.
But I was like, no, I'm not going to do a business qualification because already I'm doing my LLB and I
Yes.
have funding. If I didn't have funding, then maybe I would opt for that business qualification. But
Sure.
because I have funding, then I'm just going to continue with my LLB. Then they're like, maybe you should just opt for the project management,
Sure.
and stop studying LLB because it's not going to take you anywhere. My heart.
I'm sure it's saying,
My
because I can
heart.
imagine the stigma.
My heart. Because obviously you start doubting yourself. You start asking if you are making the right decision or not.
Sure.
You start asking yourself. And that girl at the time, she was doing her master's. I don't know if she finished or not. So, from there, because I was in legal support. So in legal support, you get templates of your suretyship, you get templates of your facilities, and then we're also working with the team from recoveries.
Yes.
We're doing like your business rescue. Yeah. So I was like, actually, I want to be the one who drafts this
Yeah,
contracts.
sure.
I don't want to be on the other side where I'm only just using templates and then you just add information that you get from the system. I want to be the one who do the research, and draft the contracts. And then from there, I just like fell in love with corporate law.
Okay.
And then when I was in my second year, I knew exactly what I wanted. I was like, you know what I want is corporate law.
Sure.
When I do my master's, I'm going to do my master's in corporate law. And then I started enjoying it.
Sure.
And then when I graduated in 2022, I did law school. And then I was like, okay, because, I already have the experience. Maybe it's going to be easy for me to find work. Let me just take the leap of faith and leave this bank.
Okay, right.
Let me just take the leap of faith and leave this bank. Didn't tell my brothers. Then I left, right? And then when I left, I went back on a contract.
Okay.
Yes, so I was working like on a contract. Then I was like, no, it's fine because I'm still doing my law school. I'll be fine. And then when I was in that contract, I got an offer. And then I spoke to my best friend, Nonkulego, and then I was telling her, you know what, I got an offer, but I don't want to take it because I want to serve my articles. And my friend was like, yeah, Vele, don't take it. Yeah, you must go and serve your articles. Because we thought it's going to be easier for me to get my articles because
Yes.
I've got the experience and I've already I was already doing my law school. Okay,
Sure.
finished my law school. My contract ended. I didn't take the offer. Then I stayed at home, started applying for articles, nothing. Started applying for articles, nothing. Remember now, there's no money coming in. You are
Yes.
just spending. There's no income. Now reality started sinking in. Then I started asking myself, did I even make the right decision? It came to a point where I was like so desperate. Now I wanted to go back to the bank. You know that saying when they say when it rains, it pours? It was definitely pouring. It was definitely pouring because even the people that I knew at the bank at the time, the people that I knew that would make things happen for me, they just disappeared. Because now I was so desperate to going back because now there's no income.
Yeah.
And then it came to a point where I couldn't even afford my rent. My brothers tried, I literally had to give up everything to be where I am. Life, the salary, I had to give it up for this dream. And then I didn't tell my brothers. Okay, they tried the first few months, but I was like, it's like they're married. They've got their own families and you can't always rely on people because sometimes wives, they can act like they're understanding, but you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You know?
Also awukwazi ukukhala njalo.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm a big girl and I've been independent and it becomes difficult to ask for help, So it came to a point where I was like, let me just go back home. In Mpumalanga, let me just go back home. I just need to find a place where I'm going to leave my furniture because I cannot afford the rent. Then I spoke to my friend. I told my friend, I'm thinking of going back home because I can't afford my rent. I would wait until something comes because I wanted to go back to FNB, but it's like yonke indonje, it's going sideways. Because there was a time where I even went for an interview. Yokubuyela khona FNB. Then I was like, even if sevenze branching, it's fine. I'm okay. I went for the interview. I went for some assessments, and I didn't even tell them that I was working, but obviously I'm sure they were going to see. It's okay, this person has an F number, she has worked here before, and everything went well. So I was waiting for the offer letter. And then out of nowhere, disappeared. Then I was like, hey, maybe this is a sign. Now I started regretting my decision. Did I make a right decision? I don't have the support now. Packed my things. My friend was like, there's no way you are going back to Mpumalanga, because the moment you go back to Mpumalanga, impilo yakho itomases. So you'd rather come and live with me. Take your things with this storage. So took my things at this storage, and then she gave me money. She was like, okay, we will pay for the deposit as a storage. She paid for a deposit. I went. And I stayed with my friend for like 3 months. Stayed for my friend for like 3 months. That's what I always say, because you know what, having genuine friends is very important. Because bangani laba genuine balivala ihlazo lakho.
Sure, that's very true.
Like, no one knew what I was going through.
Because
like,
you had genuine friends.
I had genuine friends, and my brothers also, they were always there. So people will see you happy, and then when you tell them all these things, they think you're lying. You're just making up some stories. And I was like, yeah, fine. Well, I'm not going to be out there telling the world, okay, guys, in your so-called, so that I can give you guys something to talk about and laugh about, you know?
Sure.
You will only know about the experience once I've made it. I stayed with my friend at her house, rent-free, buying food. She would even give me money for her, give me money to go and attend interviews, you know, all these things, you know? She was like there for me, and then Rams happened. That was like after a year of not working.
Searching for articles and
searching.
etc.
It's difficult, guys. It's really difficult, especially if you don't know people, you know. And you know, with a lot of law firms, they don't advertise.
Yes, you have to be hands-on.
They don't advertise posts. You need to know someone, or you just need to go and do it door to door.
Sure.
You know. Or go and do, they call it what? Vacation work. Yes.
No, I love your journey is very inspiring. And I love that you, in all the things that you were going through, the breaking points you reached, instead of you actually going down bad, you decided to rise. You know, you decided to Maya Angelou, therefore I rise. I will always rise. You know, and I love that about you, and I can't stop saying that I'm so proud of you, and a special shout out to your friend who covered you and carried you, because sometimes all we need is to be carried, or all we need is to be held just for a season. Some people never make it because they had no one to carry them for a particular time. So the fact that you had your friend that carried you, that says a lot. And I love the fact that you were, in as much as you're getting all of these degrees, the experience you're exposed to, you're still willing to do a grad program. You're still willing to go into learnerships. These learnerships that you were getting, how were you applying for them? Was it through Google or...
So with the one, yes, I know that there's this other company called Harambe.
Oh,
so
okay.
I
Yes,
always
I've heard of
refer,
it
yes,
as
I
well.
always refer people to that company. They really, is it a company or an organization? So
yeah.
whichever it is. Yeah, so they really help people. Like they really help like my young graduates. But what I've noticed with most graduates is that they don't want to take ama learnerships. Because umuntu uzokutshela ukuthi net degree, why must I go and do a learnership? But it works to your advantage, because
Sure.
at least you gain experience, and it also opens doors for you, because you don't know who you're gonna meet when you're already in there. And I always tell people, you know what, networking is important.
Sure.
You know, like my contacts, they are important. The people that you meet, you might think you don't know.
Sure.
Maybe tomorrow she might be posting something with status, and it's benefit.
Sure.
You know, it's important to build our contacts, and also like you feel like something it's not that important. It's always important. You know what? It's always important. Just put yourself in those spaces, because in I don't believe in luck. I don't want people to say, yo, Yvonne was lucky. She finished, she graduated, and then she got articles. She has a LLM. They don't know the tears that you've cried behind closed doors.
Sure.
They don't know your prayers. They don't know what you are asking God. So for someone to now come and say that you were lucky, what do you mean I was lucky?
Yeah.
I was working hard.
Sure.
This is what I want. And sometimes you may look at people and think they are like, it's not even where they want to be.
Sure.
Maybe they wanted something better for themselves. But to say,
Sure.
you know what, for you to get there, you need to start here. This is the process. You can't skip this. I understand you have a vision. When you've made your own plans, it's fine, but in the end, I decide. I'm the one who's going to decide the journey for you. Yes, I'm going to take you there, but the journey, you still need to go through the process. So for you to say someone is lucky,
It's not make
unfair.
sure.
It's
Yeah,
unfair.
it's unfair.
It's unfair.
Because there's a lot of
there's a lot-
processing that
exactly.
goes behind the scenes. I love that. So to everybody at home, make sure that you register with Harambe.
It's called Harambe.
Yes, register with Harambe. Just go on Google and check out Harambe. They usually are learnerships and graduate programs. And guys, I do understand that you have a degree, you have a master's and whatever, but start somewhere. And I know circumstances are different, but if you're willing to build brick by brick, you will get to where you are supposed to get. So don't stress yourself over the fanciness or the title of the job. Just push yourself to get the knowledge, push yourself to get the skill. Once you have the skill, the experience, no one can put you aside. You'll be able to enter other bigger rooms. And I love what Nomboso said, it's important to network, talk to people. You never know who knows who, because there's rooms that I enter that you don't enter. So by virtue of knowing me and sharing with me what skill you have, I'm able to share with other people in other rooms that I enter, and I can recommend you. So your network and your skill and your expertise, and I love that you emphasize the fact that hard work is important, because you just don't, you can't just be the person that knows people. You know people, what you have to offer.
Exactly.
Know people and have skill. Know people and have something to offer. And your journey is truly inspiring. I hope somebody that's at home that's going through a failure or a down moment knows that you can always rise and come back from wherever you are and ask for help and be vulnerable with your trusted circle, not just everybody, but your trusted people. In closing, what is the season of your life?
Right now, I feel like I got everything that I prayed for, I'm in a position where I never thought I'd be 3 years ago. Like I got everything that I prayed for in abundance. When they say God, he restores, he is truly a God of restoration. Because this was me like 2 years ago, praying for this moment, to say, you know what's in my heart, so just make it come true. But God takes his time.
Yes.
Takes his time. I had my own plans. Yeah, there was a point where I was ready to do articles for free, and because I knew that, corporate commercial is where I want to be. God was like, no, slow down, my child.
Wait a bit.
I'll take you exactly there at my own time.
Sure.
Yes, at my own time. Because when I take you at my own time, you will appreciate it.
Okay.
Things that come easy, we take them for granted. But the things that you sweat and cry for, you learn to appreciate them.
Oh, I love that. So basically your season is answered prayer. Whew, love that. And for somebody at home thinking that things are not going to work out, always remember that God dreams big for us and he is in the detail. So when you go through stuff, count it all joy, because all things work together for your good. Thank you so much for honoring this invite. I learned so much from your journey and your story, and I hope somebody at home can learn from it and be inspired by it. And always remember, you are never alone. You are gracefully anchored. Happy Employment Wednesdays. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment.